All right. Bruce, it is all yours.
Well, it's not going to be entirely mine. Good morning, folks. Happy June. Welcome to the June ARRL, ARES, San Diego, and Imperial County chapter meeting. We'll do the usual intros in the morning after we do the Pledge of Allegiance. So for those that aren't familiar with this already, if you're able to do so, you're ambulatory, it's able to be done. Please rise. If you have cover on, please remove your cover. And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance together. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, play contest. All right, anybody new to the group? First meeting, first time attendee, new ARES member, new to San Diego. This would be the time to go out and raise your hand, get our attention, do some personal introductions, tell us who you are, what area that you're in, and what your interest in ARES is.
Either wave your hand or click the raise hand button.
And we have Tom, N6TSW.
Good morning, folks. I am a new ham operator. I know Robert's been coaching us all along and doing a wonderful job. Thank you, and for this meeting as well. I've been hitting a lot of the net meetings, and the one I have yet to do, I think there's one aboard the Midway Museum, which I also volunteer down at. So I'm going to hook up with them next. I'm in Poway, right underneath Tooth Rock. And most of the time I'm hitting off Mount Woodson on the net meetings. And I'm coming into this slow. I'm operating a Yaesu handheld. It's limited, but it's function for me right now. Thank you.
Very good, welcome.
Welcome, Tom.
Anyone else? Okay, perhaps not.
Waving there.
John's new, right?
Archer's new.
W6CVA, he was waving his hand.
Yep. Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
You're good. Go ahead.
You're
sir.
good.
Yes, this is
You're
Roger.
on.
This is Roger Whiskey 6 Charlie Victor off on Carlsbad off of Carlsbad Village Drive. I just made extra in March. It's been a 40-year endeavor from a CBer. And I've been really enjoying getting into it. My first radio was the FT65. And then I moved up to the TS130S Kenwood. Then I moved up to the FTDX 3000. And so I got a Sigma Vertical and a 9-to-1 horizontal. So I've been slowly getting into the world of ham radio. And so ARES is my first step. And I'm getting involved, and I think I just made the roster for the next cycle, which I'm really excited. So I've been monitoring it for about a month, and Chris out there sent me the checkoff sheet, and I followed it for a month. And Rhonda gave me the opportunity to do it last week, and I was really, I think I did very well. And so I think I'm gonna be on the next roster. And so slowly getting into all the world of ham radio, and I'm really enjoying it. Other than that, back to you, Roger Whiskey 6 Charlie Victor Alpha. Back to you.
Very good. Welcome aboard, Roger.
Thank you.
And nothing wrong with the CB side of this at all. A lot of us joke about this, but I can say very sincerely, not joking, that I worked all states on 11 meters long before I ever did on 10. Anyone else?
We already have about 10 guys named Roger. We
Gotta be
already have
careful when you
about 10
say.
guys named Roger. So Roger, you need to be Roger Carlsbad.
Well, you get a point there because I've met 4 other Rogers on the VHF repeaters. So I'm Roger 1, they're Roger 2 and 3 and 4. So I've already hit the first one over.
Well, and a helpful hint for those that are contesting and playing in radio in general, and especially doing things that are weak signal, you're likely to hear something that sounds an awful lot like Roger, Roger.
That's correct.
Yeah, just think if your
Yeah.
middle name was Roger. People would
And
ask
that-
you your name, you'd say
and
Roger,
that's-
Roger. It's like, no, what's your name?
That's
Roger
not
that.
followed by, and that's not followed by Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor? Anyway, we'll carry on.
All right, you get.
And Michael has his hand up.
Michael has his hand
Michael
up.
has his
Yes.
hand up.
Morning, everybody. My name is Michael KN6UR. I am extremely new and novice ham radio. I was able to sit for my exam last week, successfully completed it. I just got in the mail last night when I got back from LA. A Yazi FT70. I've gotten as far as being able to put my call sign in it, but no further. In fact, I haven't even turned it on really. So looking forward to learning from you gentlemen, and thank you for allowing me to join.
Where are you from?
I'm sure. I'm actually an Air Force brat. Bounced around quite a bit as a kid. Right now I'm here in San Diego, Carlsbad area. I work in LA during the week, but like I said, in the evenings and stuff too, I try to get myself free. I'm a healthcare administrator by day and trade. I'm also emergency management grad student at Jacksonville State University.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll continue on with the lighter agenda today. Dave, if I can get you to go ahead and do any section related and ARRL related announcements, please.
All right, probably the biggest thing is the VHF contest starting here in a couple hours through Sunday. So that'll be a good time for all. And next Saturday is Kids Day, and the next weekend is Field Day. So that's probably the biggest things coming up here in the immediate future.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Any questions for Dave?
Can everybody see my screen?
Was there a question?
I said, can you see my screen?
Yes.
For the newbies.
Kurt, if you're trying to talk, there isn't audio. I
Yeah.
think you're trying to show that these are the frequencies the VHF contest is going to be on. Is that what you're trying to show us, or just the calling
Well,
frequency?
I think there are a lot of frequencies, but these are some of them.
Bruce is going to be talking about that later in the program today.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Dave? All right, I'll move next to Rob. Rob, anything from the training aspects or anything from local San Diego events?
Affirmative. Let me share a screen here. Let me know when you can see it, please. The
Good
screen
now.
up there. Okay, Dave mentioned, yeah, VHF contest today, and Bruce will be getting into the details of that shortly. Advancing slide. Field day, of course, June 25th, 26th. Future planned events, we've got a simplex net. We'll be replacing the repeater net at the end of the month on Thursday, June 30th. I'll be net control for that. Instructions will be coming out later. A reminder that the San Diego County Hospital's full-scale exercise, FSA, will be Thursday, July 21st. It'll be a morning event. Thank you if you can take time off from work to help out with that exercise. We started making assignments already, and I've started making repeater requests already to the repeater owners around the county. We'll probably have about 15 repeaters lined up for that, so that we are always have some channel to talk to and we're never crowded. Activity day, next ARES activity day will be at the end of July. It's the 5th Saturday in July, July 30th. In the past, we've had 6 locations. We don't know yet if all will be able to do that or
If you're
not.
gonna
And we will do.
go Jack in the Box, just give me a sausage breakfast, Jack. Today.
I'll take one of those
All
too.
that other stuff.
And just a quick reminder, if you're not talking, if you could please stay on mute, that would be great. Carry on, Rob.
Rob, you're muted.
Go ahead
Just
and
to let
unmute
you
yourself.
know, you're muted, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit the button for everybody because there was too much background chatter, so please unmute Rob.
Back to Rob, who needs to unmute.
Okay, Jay, why do you do that? Okay, anyways.
There's no 3-second
so
delay
back
here.
on.
The breakfast jacks
so-
are already happening.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So hospital exercise activity day, July 30th, 6 locations, and we'll have an HF interoperability net as usual. And Miramar Air Show reminder, we started making assignments for that already. That's at the end of September, September 23, 24, 25. If you don't know, we support lost and found, mostly lost and found people, sometimes lost and found kids or lost and found parents. And we're making assignments for that. A good practice with the radio and socialize for all the hams, be able to get together with each other. And a reminder that ARES documents are up on the scgares.net website and also our groups.io website. And that's all I have, Bruce. Back to you.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob? All right. The dates in sequence that we are looking at for events coming up outside of the other events mentioned, we have the VHF contest today from the ARRL. We have field day, which will be 2 weekends from now. And then in July, we have another VHF event that's only 2 bands. It'll be 6 and 2 meters, and that'll be on the 16th and 17th. So 3 pretty equally spaced events for the most part coming up shortly, where you can play radio and do it on a variety of different bands. We'll talk about the VHF UHF event today. And Rob, candidly, I had a hectic work schedule. Did you send any emails out with any helpful hints over this past week or so?
Affirmative. Last week we sent out the usual email.
Perfect. All right, so everybody
I
should
can resend it. I'll
Yeah,
resend
I was gonna say you might resend it this morning while we're in the meeting, so it's at the top of everybody's inbox. So there is a regularly used email that we use as a template, if you will, for folks that are getting into this for the first time and folks that are very experienced but just need the prompts or at least the general schedule and guidelines about how we do this. Not a very complicated event. This is a template we've been using for a large number of years. And effectively, the ARRL event is a very large North American event like Field Day, except that it's only on the VHF and up bands. The VHF bands include 6 meters. So you've got 6, 2, 220, as already mentioned earlier, 440 for those that have 900 megahertz, 902 through 927, 1296, those are the bottom 6. And usually when you depart from the bottom 6 and go upwards, it becomes the microwave band. So a lot of folks have gear that fits in those bottom 6 bands, at least some of them. And a smaller subset of folks have gear that fits in the bands above 1296. And most of those folks make special arrangements to go out and be able to go out and get on the air and do things. The bulk of the activity will probably happen on 2 meters and 440 for most folks. 6 meters is kind of an exciting band because although you'll be able to talk to a lot of folks in and around the area, and again, this is a very big event from a radio activity perspective. 2 meters and 440 will go out and get you a lot of contacts. It'll also candidly be very challenging. There's a lot of geographic areas adjacent to San Diego. There's a lot of terrain. We have unique topology and topography here in Southern California that causes weird things to happen with propagation when you least expect it. So not only is there going to be a lot of folks on, there's also going to be candidly a lot less discipline than you're probably used to hearing. You'll hear folks that are very excited to go out and think that they're working someone in Los Angeles, and they'll think that they're talking to someone in Los Angeles. And the cadence, if you will, in the QSO itself will sound like you're talking to LA, but really the people in LA are talking to other people in LA. It just happens that the timing of the contact that they're making there may coincide with the conversation that you think that you're having with them, and you're logging a contact with the person in LA and you're really not. We've had lots of examples of that over the years where people have turned in their logs. Other people have heard, witnessed, monitored the QSO and gently chuckled and shook their head and said, no, you weren't actually working LA, you were not working anybody. But that guy in LA that was really strong and saying, Roger, Roger, we got you. Yep, we got you in the log. And you think that you're talking to them, and the reality is that you are not talking to anyone. So you need to go out and do a couple of things that are really important. You really should follow the email examples that are going to be resent out. You really should do everything you can to repeat each other's call sign and not try to take the shorter route or the quick route or maybe the easy way out. And just say, Roger, Roger, we got you in the log, because no one's going to know who you're talking to. So if it's Rob talking, it should be Rob. And Kurt, all of these frequencies are in the email that are being sent out. The dancing video probably isn't going to be any different than that. The responses and the workflow that are in the email are what you should probably be looking at and use those examples to follow. The categories for the contest are the same as they have been in the past, except that this is probably a little known issue and deal. And I suspect some people have picked up on this already that are regular contesters, and they will be doing things to take full advantage of 3 brand new categories. that are available this year, this June, for the first time. So there are categories that single station operators can use for the contest. And that's single operator low power, single operator high power. Then there's single operator portable. Then there's the very popular single operator 3-band, which is 6 meters, 2 meters, and 440. And then there's single operator FM only, which is 6 meters, 2 meters, 220, and 440. So here's the deal. The deal is that this year, for the first time, with a rule change, 3 of the categories I just mentioned, which is actually 4 different categories because a single operator could be low or high power. There is now an analog only mode category, which means no digital. In the past, single operator high or low, single operator portable, single operator 3-band. Any of those categories could have been mixed mode. It could have been analog or digital. Previously, the only analog only category was the FM only. So this year, for the first time, every section, every division, and every national record will have a brand new category that someone will at least hold for a year if you do analog only. So if you do analog only, which means no digital, for single operator low power, single operator high power, single operator portable, and single operator 3-band, you will be setting a brand new record for your section, potentially, your division, potentially, or regionally, and then nationally as well, depending on how high you score. So there's an interesting opportunity out there to play really hard, especially for the people that are playing FM only for these things. Does that make sense? Are there questions about that? And I'm not suggesting that anybody go for a record or try to set a specific record, but there's going to be a record opportunity. And because most of our folks here will be operating FM only and not digital, some of you folks are going to go out and land yourself in a record book for at least a year. Another incentive to go out and play the game today and tomorrow, if you will. There's no other real changes in the rules. We have a reporting requirement of 10 days after the contest. So you have 10 days after it ends Sunday evening at 8 o'clock to get your logs in. We will be able to go out and review before you turn your logs in any questions you might have about log submission. So you've got a 10-day window to ask questions and figure things out as quickly as possible, get your log turned in correctly. There are certificates for those that haven't done this before that are available. We've had people get a certificate for turning in literally 2 or 3 contacts. It's an amazing thing. So you get a nice piece of paper from the ARRL that you can print out, frame it, have a nice looking certificate for participating, and sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. The rules are all posted on the ARRL website if you want to really dig into the rules specifically. But again, there haven't been any changes other than the analog only category as previously mentioned. Any questions? This would be a good time to go out and play question and answer. Ask something that you don't know.
Joshua?
Yeah, what logging software would you recommend for the contest?
There's a lot of free ones that are out there, Joshua. I know a lot of folks really like N3FJP, but there are other free ones that are available. So it's just a matter of what you want and what your computer is. N3FJP is only Windows at this time, if I remember correctly still. Some of the other ones do work under Linux. So if you've got an Apple, you can go out and run it under your Apple operating system. For a lot of people that are doing this slow, you can do it on paper. The advantage in doing it on a computer is if you have a duplicate, you'll know that you've got a duplicate. The honest answer, though, is that the ARRL does not penalize anyone. So this is a good time to bring this up. Thank you for the prompt. ARRL doesn't give you any deduction in points if you have a duplicate contact. So you could log, I could log you, Josh, in my log 5 times during the event. I'll only get credit for you 1 time, but it doesn't matter how many times you've worked a station. You'll only get credit for them once. And that's the way the rules are written. And Rob's got that in the email. It'll say that 1 contact per call sign per band. So if you're working someone on CW, you've worked them. You don't need to work them voice or phone, and you don't need to work them digital. You can if you want to, but it's not going to give you any extra points. And that is the big distinction between the ARRL VHF contest and the contest that'll be coming in 2 weeks, which is Field Day. And we should mix it up a little bit and talk about Field Day too, because this will be the last meeting before we get to Field Day, right? So in Field Day, you can work stations in different modes to get additional contact points. So if it was Field Day and you happen to have digital and you're running FT8 and you work me, you get a point for that. And then if you work me in voice, you get a point for that too. So you can do it a variety of different ways in Field Day, and you do get points for that. And still, it's no harm, no foul if you go and work somebody a 2nd time or a 3rd time or a 4th time by accident. It doesn't matter. You can keep going. Don't worry about telling someone you're a dupe. You're a dupe. We've already worked. Sometimes it's just as quick, if not quicker, to go out and continue to work the station, log the contact, and move on than to argue with somebody and debate whether or not you've worked them and what time you think you've worked them and when you might have worked them. And sometimes, to be honest, in a lot of cases, you might have one station say to the other station, I've already worked you, and the other station has no clue, says, I don't think so. And sometimes that's because they've logged you incorrectly. They might have missed something
There will be
phonetically.
rovers out there too.
Yeah. Thank you. Another good point, Rob. So sometimes they might have missed you. Sometimes they might have thought that they worked you, but didn't, and had the call sign wrong. So again, it's perfectly okay to keep going. Don't worry about the dupes. And important safety tip. Thank you, Rob. The exception to the you only work 1 station 1 time per mode, etc., is different when it's someone that's signing rover or stroke R at the end of their call sign. If somebody is a rover, you can work the rover station more than once in the VHF contest, as long as they are in a different grid square from the grid square that they were in the last time that you worked them. The whole point of being a rover is that they have to work 2 or more grid squares. Otherwise, they are no different than a single grid or a fixed station. To be a rover, you have to work 2 or more grid squares. So if somebody happens to be working in Delta Mike 13 and they cross the imaginary line, which literally could be getting in their car and driving 2 blocks away, they're now in a different grid square, and they can work you again for additional points, and you can work them again for additional points. So that's kind of a cool thing. Be listening for anybody that signs stroke R at the end of the call sign. especially if you're doing digital, or anyone that is phone or voice that is saying rover at the end of their call sign. Open it up. Questions about field day or the VHF contest.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm kind of new at this, but this is all on Simplex.
It is no repeaters for either one of these events.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for the most part, and to be completely honest with you, I don't know of any contest that is a sponsored contest by a large organization that happens on repeaters. I know that there are some local homegrown events that happen to get people on repeaters and do things like that, but any of the magazine or the nationally sponsored ones by the ARRL are all going to be simplex only. No repeaters, no help.
Simplex FM and on the calling frequencies, correct?
Simplex, FM, or sideband. And
Got it.
sideband includes digital modes, and FM actually includes digital modes, but if it's, and here's where we're going to get into we'll split the hairs a little bit and probably confuse some people, but it's relevant. There is such a thing called C4 FM.
Right.
Right? So that's not considered digital in this case. You're still FM.
Okay.
And there are the ICOM modes as well, and those are digital, but we're still going to say that they are FM. So if you're actually on a VHF FM transceiver and it happens to be an ICOM with digital, or you're on a VHF FM transceiver and it happens to be a Yaesu and you've got C4 FM, that's still considered FM. Digital modes are modes that require a specific software application running on your computer that interface with a multi-mode radio, and you use those modes in sideband. So totally different. Most of the folks will be using FM.
Got it. Yeah, I have a Yaesu 7250, which is analog and digital. So I guess that qualifies for the
You're FM only.
no digital on that.
Even though it's a digital radio, it's VHF, unless it's sideband and you're using a separate program. All of your VHF radios, even with a proprietary digital mode in it from the manufacturer, that's still considered FM.
Okay. That answered my questions. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a try just for fun. I'm an old time pen and paper logger for now. Haven't moved up to the actual logging, but one step at a time. But thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Chris has his hand up.
Chris, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So you can have, it's one contact per band per mode. Is that correct?
For field day.
Oh, okay. What about VHF contest?
One contact per mode regardless. Or sorry, one contact per station regardless of mode.
Okay. And what about band?
Per band.
Okay, so it's per
So
band.
Chris, if I work you on FT8 on 6 meters, we're done. You don't
Okay.
need to work me CW. You don't need to work me voice. You're done. One contact per station, per band, you're done.
Roger
With
that.
today and tomorrow's. When it's 2 weeks from now, it can be CW. You're going to get a point from me on 6 meters. If it's FT8, you're going to get a point from me on 6 meters. And then if I work you voice, you're going to get a third point from me on 6 meters. So CW, digital, phone on the field day event. You got 3 different possibilities for contacts per band. For today and tomorrow, it's one and done per band. One contact, regardless of mode, per band, and you're done.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
All right, we got
Any,
another question in chat. So digital modulation counts as non-digital FM, but data exchange counts a digital mode.
Not that I know of.
That take care of it, Peter?
Yeah, sorry, Bruce. I was trying to restate what I thought you said. It sounded like
If you have
C4
a,
FM might be digital, but it's modulating your voice, so they're just counting it as voice. But if you use your computer to send
correct.
characters back and forth, that counts as digital.
Yeah, that's close enough. What I was trying to illustrate for folks that have C4 FM radios, and this is funny because you might have, and I'm just saying you might, and maybe you don't, but you might have a Yaesu FT991A. So there is D-Star on that radio, and you could run D-Star in theory on HF. I would still say that that's FM, but
If you
that's
find
me.
someone who can connect with that, that should count as double.
Yeah, you would think, right? So don't go there. And the same thing happens with ICOM. You might have an ICOM radio that supports D-Star. And if you're using D-Star on 6 meters, I'm still going to say that that's going to be FM. Because it is. It's going to be FM. It's not going to be D-Star over HF. So yeah, don't get weird because it says HF digital on your radio. If you've got an FM radio and it's a single band or a dual band FM radio for 2 meters and 440, you're FM. It doesn't matter if you're making that contact on simplex using C4 FM and you've figured out how to do that with the opposing station. More power to you if you want to do that, but it's still FM. It's not digital. That's one of those fun things that we talk about occasionally when we want to go out and talk about disasters and running simplex modes and how to get less interference from another station and what would you do for maybe tricks to go out and preserve bandwidth and space on the frequencies and bands for, you know, a lot of simplex use. That's where you start having that interesting dialogue about getting fancy with one of the digital modes in FM, but picking another part of the band to go out and do, you know, out of the normal pathway communication. But for this, and no, Chris, you can't send SMS text messages via DMR. Stop it. Just stop. And by the way, DMR, still FM. DMR is not going to be digital for this event.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
So it's 10 days to send in logs for the VHF contest. How long for field day?
Same as far, well, you know what? Got to be honest. I don't know whether they've bounced that back. I thought it was 10 days for everything, but I thought there was 1 year where they said that it would still be 30 days because of the volume of logs. Have to look it up, Jay. Sorry.
It's okay. Just thought you might know.
Mm,
It's good to know. It's really good to know that they don't penalize for duplicates because, you know, it's something that that I have stressed about in the past. Go through, sort them, make sure everything is unique. And if I don't have to do that, that's a good thing.
yeah, they don't bother you for duplicates, but what gets interesting is you may actually have a busted queue.
Right.
So somebody else may have you in their log. You don't find them in your log. So you can, like I said, you can arm wrestle over it. You can have a lively discussion about it and maybe, you know, lose 30 seconds or a minute or two of time, or you can just log the contact again and move on. But it's always a question mark for me. Whenever I get one of those where someone says, yeah, I don't have you in my log, I try to go out and make a note of that to figure out whether I did something wrong, whether I copied the other remote station incorrectly or got something twisted or misconfigured, as we like to call it, giving someone a vanity call. I always try to figure out what I did. And the ARRL does publish information typically for most of their contests that they host. They will give you effectively after action reports on your logs. They'll tell you how many you got right. They'll tell you how many were broken queues or busted queues. They will tell you how many stations you worked that might have been unique to you and not in anybody else's log. They'll give you a lot of interesting stats to help your own personal performance and your own professional operation updates and skills that you can work on. It's kind of cool. I don't know that they do it for field day, but they do that for all of the other events, including the VHF contests.
So as a strategy, it seems that you might as well just, you know, if someone says, oh, I have you in my log already. Well, maybe you just say, maybe I made a mistake. Let's do it again. And it just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
There's no bad thing that's going to happen. And maybe and
Yeah.
a lot of people maybe not know that.
Yeah, work
Regarding
them again.
Regarding busted cues, it's my understanding that one can play in the contest and not have to submit a log. So if someone wants to just get on casually and talk to a few people, give them some points, they don't have to submit a log. So busted cues are maybe a little different in the VHF contest than in field day. Your comments?
I would agree that's true. There's no obligation for anybody to submit a log though. Even in field day, you could go out and miss a log deadline just by accident. You forgot, something happened, log never made it there. It's not going to decrement or impact negatively somebody else's score that worked that station. Because anything could happen. The exchange is still the exchange. And for today, you're still exchanging your call sign, your grid square. And if you're logging the contact, then you're absolutely taking note of, you know, what time it was for the exchange. Not super complicated. And field day is likewise rather, it's not very complicated from the logging perspective, but you got to have the basic elements. So for field day, it's going to be the class of station that you're running. Today, it's going to be the grid square. You might actually hear people in field day, if you're running VHF, they'll also provide grid squares, not just section, but grid squares. Because even though field day is not where you're necessarily going to find a lot of this, there are people out there that are trying to go out and earn their VUCC, which is a special award that you get as an example. If you work 100 unique grid squares, there will be people that will be taking advantage of field day for trying to fill in whatever they need to get to 100. So if you get 100 unique grid squares in a VHF band, you actually get a special award if you can verify that you've done that with other operators. Another certificate you can earn. So, hey, I'm going to go out and hurt your heads a little bit. Everybody remember what I said earlier about you got opportunities to go out and do analog only and set records. And I said analog only, no digital, right? Everybody heard me say that multiple times. So there's an analog only, no digital. But if you really want to work digital today and tomorrow, you can. The ARRL left the loophole in this. When you submit your logs, if you submit your log and you state what category you're submitting your log in, and you submit your log analog only, if you have digital contacts in the log, those digital contacts will not count for your score, but they will count for the digital operators that did work you. So if you want to play both ways today and tomorrow, you can do it. But when you get down to submitting your score, if you want to go out and stay analog only, you can submit the log analog only. And even if you've got digital contacts, and this would be especially true on 6 meters for a lot of folks, even if you've got digital contacts in there for 6, it'll ignore those. Those will become check logs for the other stations that worked you. So that's kind of a cool benefit. So if you're just dabbling with digital, you're trying to learn, you're tinkering, you're playing, as long as you get the digital QSO logged correctly, the other station will get credit for it, even if you are only filing analog only. So you do have time to tinker if you've got time. You can stay analog only and you can still play in digital, but the score won't count to digital if you do that.
Do I remember correctly that there is no digital only category?
That's correct.
Yeah, maybe
The
I
way,
next year.
the way things are going, I would expect someday they're gonna go out and do that, right? Someday they'll come up with a digital only. In fact, they just had a digital only event last weekend. Other questions? All right. Give people plenty of time. They go out and get extra coffee, load up on donuts, get the Domino's order ready. All kinds of opportunities. For those that are playing digital and weak signal on 6 meters in particular, and you've got at least 3 elements up on the roof, if not more. We've had really good openings over the last couple of weeks, every mid to late afternoon and then late evening local time in San Diego to Japan and Asia. And then during the morning hours, starting typically between about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and usually rolling up just about till noon or so. More often than not over this past week, we've had openings very briefly into Europe. So if you've got some directional capabilities, you might actually see some funny call signs rolling by that don't look like anything that you would normally recognize unless you play around on the HF bands and you know that these are international call signs. So there has been some interesting activity on 6. Yeah, those do count for points in the VHF event if you can work them. I'll tell you what you're going to see in digital that's going to be interesting. If you're not playing in digital and you don't normally do this, you're going to see a lot of things roll by your screen that look like they are saying CQ space test, the word test, T-E-S-T. And when you see that, what that means is that someone has selected North American contest mode for WSJT. And the reason why they're doing that is twofold. They're doing that because they want to let people know that they are in a contest. Although it's not required that you do that for this event, you can leave your WSJT configured just the way it is. But what happens is when it's in contest mode, you shorten the overall end-to-end conversation by 30 seconds. You're removing the signal reports for each side because they're not actually necessary for the event. They're not required by the contest. There's no obligation to provide a signal report. So unlike the HF contest where everybody is 5x9, because that's what you hear automatically come out of someone's mouth, nobody ever says, unless they're more new to HF contesting, which happens occasionally, because you'll hear someone say, yeah, you're about a 2x4 right now. And the other station that can barely hear that guy is saying, yeah, you're 5x9. Because 5x9, everybody's 5x9. It's a joke in HF contesting. Everyone gets a 5x9. It's like a participation award. So in contest mode for WSJT, you cut out 2 15-second exchanges for the signal report, which is actually good because sometimes if you've ever watched WSJT, you'll know that sometimes you get hung up, especially if it's weak signal or the signal's being clobbered by somebody else or something happened to the signal while you're trying to reach the station. You'll sit there and go through a number of cycles, a large number of cycles sometimes before you finally complete the QSO. So you're eliminating the signal report. You've only got 4 exchanges, so you can get the entire QSO done in WSJT in 1 minute instead of 1 minute and 30 seconds. Like I said, it's not a requirement. Stations that are not in contest mode can still work you. But if you see something roll by your screen that says CQ test, don't freak out. Test is short for contest. And the reason why they shortened it from contest to test is because the field length where you can type in characters in the field to be sent is limited. So they had to cut out the CON. But test means contest. Last second thoughts. What's everybody going to have for lunch?
I had one more question back to Joshua for logging. Joshua, do you have Windows or a Mac or Linux or what's going on?
Yeah, I'm running Windows right now.
Okay, lots of good free software out there for Windows.
N1MM is a good consideration, but if you're a quick study, you might be able to figure out most of the nuances in that in about 2 hours.
Yeah, there's a lot of the very, very full featured loggers are very, very complicated necessarily. Yeah, that's probably where it's worth spending a few bucks on N3FJP because it's supposed to be simple to operate.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try N3FJP.
Yeah, the deal with N3FJP is it is a small fee to go out and license it. It's not free. And if you really think that someday you're going to go out and use any of the other applications in the suite, for those that haven't used a computer-based logger before, for those that haven't done it, N3FJP for Windows is one of the most popular. It's got a ton of features. It's produced by a gentleman that's been doing this a lot of years, and I highly recommend it. I have bought a license back when Scott first went out and put the suite together and started bundling the applications. And I'm not joking about this. This is a ham radio guy that's a developer along with his wife that, is charging what I'd consider a fairly modest fee for what he does. But he's got not just VHF contesting apps, but he's got all the state apps for different contests. He's got general logging software. He's got special event logging software. And I ended up buying the bundle, if you will, probably as far back as almost 20 years. Long time ago. And a lot of the software that he has is specific for different states. Some of the stuff is for contests that I would never run or I never do get involved with. But I had sent him a message maybe 2 or 3 years ago asking what it would cost to upgrade my license to get some of the new logging software that he's got, because he over the last 20 years he's almost doubled the number of software components in the suite. And I swear to you, within a matter of hours, he sent me a note back and said, thanks for being one of our original subscribers. It's like, here's your new license map for everything that you already own. So he basically gave me everything that was in the suite that was current, that didn't even exist 20 years ago. He gave me license keys for everything just because I had already been a subscriber. And I'm not going to say that he would do that for everybody, but my suspicion is I think that's actually the way he guy rolls. So yeah, you might consider getting just the one piece if that's all you need is for VHF, UHF. I'd also take a look in advance for field day. And with all sincerity, if you're going to do field day, I would never recommend to anybody, unless you're only going to turn in a couple dozen contacts, I would never recommend to anybody that you do field day on paper. Not only is it super cool to be able to go out and type in stuff into a computer, it's very basic, it's very easy to use, but the field day software package for those that want to play and compete with themselves, the field day software package will also show you the different sections that are available that you want to try to work. And Rob and I joke about this, but it's like Beach Blanket Bingo, the old movie that, never mind, I'm probably too old. So the cool thing is you're trying to go out and work every section in North America for the event, because field day is a North America event, although it does include the territories for the United States as well. So Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, things like that. There's a screen in N3FJP, there's a screen that shows you what sections you've actually worked, so you can see how you're progressing in trying to get as many of those as possible. And we always joke about, and we always make a joke about, what sections are going to be really hard to work. And sections can sometimes be a state. And jokingly or not jokingly, Delaware is very hard to work. Vermont is usually very hard to work, at least from Southern California. It might be something simple in the Midwest, but there are certain sections here in Southern California that, even with good propagation, which we seem to be very fortunate in with the new solar cycle that we're in, some of this stuff is actually really hard. So to see North America and its map get pretty much all lit up is a fairly gratifying event. It really is, or as most as possible. And like I said, for a lot of people, you're competing with yourself. You're not competing with a group or a club or other individuals. You're just trying to go out and see what you can do better, see what you can do to improve your operating skills, see what you can do better to improve your technique, maybe improve an antenna, get different antennas up, try different radios, things like that. Definitely fun times. So you've got the two largest North American operating events upon you. The VHF and above contest today. So if you have a technician license, this is the one you're going to operate in. And then next week, you can operate in that too, but only on the VHF bands, unless you have either someone or a club station that you're operating with that has HF privileges. But again, both of these events, largest on the air events for all of North America. So good time to be playing radio.
Bruce, question.
Go ahead.
Did you already talk about the aggregating scores, field day versus VHF contest, contributing scores towards ARES or a club of your choice?
I did not mention that at all. And you can certainly chip in as well. And the question for Rob today is, what Hawaiian shirt are you wearing? It's a requirement that when you do contests that you have to wear a Hawaiian shirt.
Of course, of course. I've got a nice one on today, but anyways, my understanding is for the VHF contest, no ARES aggregation, but we can do that for field day. Is that correct?
It is correct. So the field day event, the way the rules were written because of COVID, a couple of years ago, they've kept in the rules, and you just brought me to another important one for that as well. One of the rule changes was that you can go out and contribute your score as an individual toward a local club or organization. So we have a lot of ARES members that are not necessarily affiliated with other clubs, or they think that or believe that, and they are, in many cases, more affiliated with ARES than they are some of the other groups. So when you submit your score, there will be instructions on how you can go out and put ARES in there. And then your 100 points, your 500 points, your 1,000 points, whatever it happens to be, gets contributed to an overall aggregate score for the group. So if you're a member of a radio club and a regular participant with a radio club, you can do it for your radio club. That's been done in the past. You can do it for ARES. You can do it for any other recognized organization. It can't be something made up. You can't say it's Captain Kangaroo's Ham Radio Club because that's not a recognized organization. You could try to do that, but it's not going to work. It would have to be a recognized existing radio club or an organization with the ARRL. The other change that they made from last year was they're going to still allow home stations to contact other stations that are out there. But one of the big rules for the home stations is, and one of the rules for the field stations that it has changed potentially for some of you, is that there is a 100-watt limit on power. So no more legal limit 1 Delta stations. And I'm sure there will still be people on the air doing that, but Officially, it's bad if you do that to begin with, because we've had stations in and around Southern California running legal limit because they're sitting at home. They're running their giant home antennas. It's not really a field day event for them. They were allowed to go out and play and participate because of COVID rules. And people ran it just like they would run a regular HF contest out of their home instead of running it the way it would be typically run for field day. And sadly, for a lot of us, that creates a problem because we are not running as sophisticated of station because we're running portable, we're running in our backyard on portable antennas. We're at a community park somewhere, maybe we're out in the county somewhere, and we're actually doing it field day style. And when the larger stations running full legal limit and big antennas are on the air, that kind of impacts a lot of other stations negatively. Kind of hard to hear other stations when you got someone in the middle of the band wiping out the entire band. And that's hopefully not going to happen this year.
Bruce?
Yes, sir.
100-watt limit apply? I mean, I remember that it applies to home stations. Does it apply to all stations?
Everything.
Okay, very good. Thank you for clarification.
Any additional questions before we wrap it up? Just a little past the hour.
All right, just one other comment here. If you are with a group and you are doing field day at a outside location, please note the location on the ARRL Field Day locator. I'm going to try and get out and visit a few. I think Dick Norton is going to be down this way this year, so hopefully we'll get to run into each other. But if you do look on the ARRL website, there is a error. There is a McKean County Amateur Radio Club, which is in northern Pennsylvania. They are listed on the field day locator as being at San Pasquale Battlefield Park, and they are not there. There is one member who lives in Pennsylvania and lives here back and forth, and he was there for winter field day, but he is not there for field day. So he doesn't know how it got there. So I have been in touch with him, and he's going to call on Monday and get that fixed. So, good place to locate. And if you want to go, or the public wants to go, it's a good way to get out and see what other people are doing as well.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. I'm not sure with the population that we have today, and because it's not the primary monthly meeting, did anybody want to do breakout rooms?
I don't hear anybody jumping or any hands being thrown up here.
All right. I'll let you wrap it up for us today, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And good luck in the VHF contest. Try and have some fun with it. If nothing else, just try and beat what you did last year, or, keep a record so you can do something better next year. So just always keep improving. Thanks, everybody, for being there. And we will hopefully catch everybody on the air. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.